Alright, what is going on, 802 Garage? Do you know what time it finally is? It is time to... Hold on just 1 second. That's right, it is finally time to put the transmission back into my 1997 Mitsubishi Eclipse GSX. So, if you're new here and you like this car and you want to see it run, please subscribe. Otherwise, like the video, leave a comment, help me out, and I hope you enjoy the ride. Alright, so first things first, folks, gotta actually find a way to get this thing under the car, and I did measure this, and it should get right under that gap without me having to jack up the car at all. It is resting on the front wheels and has a decent amount of room. So I've got this piece of wood over here. I'm gonna try to put the transmission on it and kind of slide it under, and then I'm gonna have to get that up onto a jack to jack it up and actually mate it to the engine. So we'll see how it goes. Alright, this piece of wood ended up being a little bit too wimpy, but transmission slid under there well enough. I'll go get the jack. Now, I did just remember what I meant to do was put a nice piece of plywood underneath here for the transmission to sit on and for me to roll the jack on, but I think I'm just going to skip that and see how it goes. This thing is like light enough that you feel like you could just lift it into place, but that's a terrible idea for your back and the rest of your body. I have had a lot of people in the comments tell me I should have just towed this thing into the garage to work on it on the cement. They're not really wrong, but I'm determined to do it this way out here in the dirt, same way I took it out, and then drive it out of here. So that's what's gonna happen. All right, I got myself a slightly smaller, sturdier piece of wood, and the whole point of this is really just to create a more stable platform for the transmission to sit on, because it's not going to want to sit even on this little piece of metal. All right, so you can watch me struggle to make this work for a minute now. We'll see how it goes. All right, this is silly. I'm going to get somebody else to push the jack in while I lift. That's the new plan. It should push pretty easy. And I'm going to straddle it, so don't let it swing up and hit me in the nuts, and then we'll all be fine. Alright, so that's a big mission accomplished, because now I can actually move the transmission around and get it up in a position. But there are two main issues here, the transfer shaft and the axle. I technically should have undone the ball joints to pull the wheels out of the way before doing this, but I think I should be able to just kind of swing the axle out of the way. If I could actually get the transmission on at least one mount before moving on, that means I could remove that block of wood, which would be really nice. And yes, since I did just literally drag my transmission in the dirt, I am going to wipe it off. I got this hole full of dirt too. Good stuff. Alright, so next issue, you can definitely see that this intermediate shaft is pretty rusty and dirty, so I'm going to clean that off with a wire brush, some Scotch-Brite, and some brake clean, and then grease it up so that if I do put it into the transmission right away, it's not going to, ruin the seal or anything like that. Alright, and I did just look all over the shaft, and there's nowhere else other than that one little spot that seems to have any pitting. Looks like that spot must have been like hit on something, maybe the old flywheel teeth, and then rusted because of that. So I think that's about the best I'm gonna get it, honestly. Gotten all the rust out of it. So I'm just gonna Scotch-Brite it a little more and call it good. Alright, that looks pretty clean. I'm gonna grease it up with some more Valvoline full synthetic. Lucky I did grease these at least when I let the car sit, because otherwise they'd be all rusted up. Okay, looks good. And I will of course clean the axle before I put that back in too. do need to get this axle out of the way for now, so I'm going to try to move the trans just a little bit and then swing this out of the way. Doesn't look like that's going to go down further than that, so this has to sit here, and that's probably going to conflict with the transmission going in. So it's basically time to try this and see if I can get anywhere. If you watched my last video, you'll know that I prepped everything on the front of the transmission to make sure that it's all greased and in position. So it should be ready to slide right into the engine, provided I align the clutch disc properly. The only sticking point is if that axle is going to get in my way, and also the intermediate shaft. I'm almost to the right height as is, and that axle is definitely going to get in the way. So unfortunately, at the very least, I'm going to have to pull the ball joint on that side, which is a bummer because I really wanted to avoid having to jack up the car again. Alright, well I have some good news, which is that the pinch weld down there where you're supposed to jack the car from is actually holding, so that means there's some structural integrity left. And I'm going to whip the wheel off now. Such weird lug nuts. Still don't get that. It's not quite a jack stand, but it'll help. So what's next is undoing that ball joint, which you can see I left loose, because then I can actually swing this out of the way and pull the axle out of the way, and that was my solution to this whole conundrum versus actually pulling the axles or undoing multiple suspension arms, etc. There you go, now the axle's underneath the transmission. And that might give us enough to actually get the transmission up if I can put the intermediate shaft in at the same time. Alright, so basically the plan is to try to jack this up, stick the intermediate shaft in the correct hole, and then see if I can get it to mate up to the engine. I'll show you the most difficult part of this. Right back here, this all just has to barely clear the suspension mount, and you can see right there that's hitting, and it likes to hit right back here, and also this bolt sticks out and it hits there. So you got to get it far enough in there and then pull it this way and far enough and pull it this way until you finally get past this. But I'm almost there. I definitely recommend having that intermediate shaft pulled out of the way when you're doing this instead, but I'm trying to save time since I don't want to jack up the other side, which is partially because of where the car is and how much of a pain it is to get a good jacking point right now. Hopefully this will actually end up saving me some time. Alright, taking a couple steps back from my current approach, I think I have two main issues here. The first one being that my engine is like super off level. I don't even see the bubbles way up there. It needs to be all the way up there to be level, and the transmission's also off level but not that bad. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take off this wheel, pull the intermediate shaft outward so that that's not such a pain, and then I'm going to lower the side of the car a little bit to level the engine more, and I think that that's gonna kind of solve all my issues. All right, using my third and crappiest jack, but it seems to be working. All right, I don't think I'm going to get much more out of it than that, so I am going to undo the ball joint on this side. If you're wondering why there's a milk carton under here, by the way, It's not holding the weight of the engine. It's just meant to be under the oil pan as a secondary precaution to keep the engine from completely falling and like destroying the mount or anything like that. It is holding some of the weight, but the wood block is doing more of the work. Alright, so you should be able to see the intermediate shaft is now resting on the edge of the transmission instead of being inside of it, so that's going to be out of my way enough. And the engine is a lot closer to level. You can see the bubble floats up a lot sooner, and that's at a similar level to the transmission, which is a bit off. So I think I'm good to try to slot the transmission in again now. All right, so this is one of those times where you just like hope you were right about everything and go for it. Damn wiring harness. I think this thing was supposed to be mounted up here somewhere, but previous owner screwed that up too. Ugh, just stay out of my way. I'm gonna grip the whole back of the transmission and kind of yank and shake. Oh yeah, it's going in. Beautiful. Needs to come down just a tiny bit, I think. So it's going in. You can tell because that's mating up. There we go. It was too high still. I felt it start to slot in. There we go. I found a way to lock that into place. Whew! Victory! Time to get the bolts. Look, it's the raccoon. He spotted me. So cute when he uses his little paws. Oh my god. I love raccoon. Anyway, wish I had started on this a lot earlier, but that's actually going to be it for today, and I guess for this video, so it's just going to be me actually getting the transmission into place, because I'm sure I have plenty of footage to make this longer than it needs to be, and the next video will be me actually bolting it into the car and showing you all the torque specs, getting the transfer case on, the axles in, all that stuff, and then hopefully it'll be maybe one video on prepping the car, and then the next thing you will see is a first start. So thank you so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, please subscribe because you might have liked something about it, and there's more to come on this car and many others. And otherwise, just toss me a thumbs up, leave a comment below. You know I love talking to y'all, and if you see anything I did wrong, I'm more than open to criticism or having something fixed that I screwed up. So thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you all soon on 802 Garage.